Today we're going to have a conversation about aging. Aging is one of those things that in this industry drives me absolutely batty. Batty. When we have conversations about aging in skincare, there's a lot of negativity. Your collagen production drops off. By the way, that starts happening when you're 20. Your hyaluronic acid production drops off, which, by the way, happens when you're 18. Your estrogen levels decline the older you get. It wreaks havoc on your entire system, your hair, your skin, your nails, your brain's ability to function, the pain that you have in your joints, your body. All of these things are connected and influenced by hormones, which, of course, affects your skin. As we age, there's all these things sold to the industry. There's this line of thought in the industry that aging is somehow evil. It's something we have to fight against. I don't know if it's a worldwide concept or a very American concept. I haven't done enough of travel to understand the core root of it or study, but what I do know is that women in this industry are portrayed at some point. They're either, I saw this post the other day on Instagram that I loved, and I don't know who the credit's for. I'll find it and put it in the comments. But it was essentially like they're shamed for looking too old, or they're shamed for acting too young for their age, or they're shamed for still being voluptuous and sexy at their age, or but the word that connected all of those opinions together was age. That there is something appropriate or inappropriate based on a certain chronological number of years that you've been alive. But men age, they get gray hair, and suddenly they're a silver fox, and they're sexy, and they're on advertisements, and they're still making money as models. And then there is the female side of the industry, which girls get into when they're very young, and there's all sorts of eating disorders and body dysmorphia, and the standards that we have set for beauty in general are intolerable. And then you add in this whole anti-aging sentiment, which is, it shouldn't be evil. Listen, if you're not aging, you're not living. I'm going to say that again. If you are not aging, you are not living. Ask me why we celebrate birthdays. Why do we have cakes? Why do we blow out candles? At what point does it become so evil to grow in wisdom, to gain more experience in the world? Why do we have products in the marketplace for beauty that are age corrective or age anti-aging or anti-this or anti-that? I just have such a hard time with it. Oh, and then there's the concept of aging gracefully. I'm sorry, I've never had a graceful bone in my body despite my mother's best efforts. So or aging naturally, okay, great, right? But that also has its own implications. It also has its own parentheses. Pro-youth? Okay, maybe. What about pro-hydration? What about pro-smoothness? What about skin tone evenness, right? Those are all things everybody's after. It doesn't matter what age you are. But the fact that there is so much negativity, the fact that there is so much vehemence put on the process of getting older, the fact that it has become some sort of sin to age. There's treatments in the marketplace in our kind of advanced cosmetic space that are, for lack of a better description, borrowing from Peter to pay Paul, right? You were borrowing from your future years of skin health to be looking younger now. I read a white paper on a plastic surgeon who had done the first facelift on a collection of candidates and then followed their journeys, and then they got to a point where they wanted to do a second facelift, and they had done radio frequency microneedling, and it caused a bunch of scar tissue underneath their face, so they weren't actually able to even get that second facelift. So that collagen production underneath the skin wasn't actually even collagen production, it was just scar tissue forming underneath the skin, so much so that the surgeon couldn't perform the second facelift because he couldn't access the tissues in the same way. He couldn't pull or tighten or move things around. I see younger and younger clients getting facelifts and blepharoplasties, and I get it. I totally understand it. We are at a day and age where if you do not look the way you want to look, there are 1.5 million ways to be able to look different. And I am not anti-Botox. I am not anti-filler. I'm not any of that. I want you to be comfortable in your skin and look the way that you want to look. The concept I'm trying to communicate, the thing that is most important to me, is that we have to stop having conversations where aging, getting older, waking up tomorrow and being able to breathe and walk is somehow evil and wrong. It makes me, you can see how emotional I'm getting. It makes me so upset. It makes me so upset. I look at somebody who has gray hair and wrinkles and I think, damn, what a life they lived. How exciting that that person has made it to this point. I look at my 88-year-old father who looks phenomenal, for the record. Thank you, genetics. And I think, oh, yeah, right? He's got some stories. He's got a life that he has lived. My great aunt is 96. Bless her heart. She has had a very rich, deep life, right? Those things are not evil. Those things are not bad. Those things are amazing. So why is everything in our beauty industry, why is everything in our skincare industry around anti-aging? What if it was just around pro-health? What if it was just around being as healthy as you possibly can be, regardless of what age you are? And health of your body is health of your skin. Healthy skin comes from having a healthy body. Yes, we are not the healthiest society. Lord knows that we are not. But we are alive. And if we are alive, we have the ability to make choices that get us to healthier. And part of healthier is a healthier mindset. It's a healthier mindset about being alive. It's not being depressed when you spot a new line or a new wrinkle in the mirror. It's about celebrating that that came from a life that you are living out loud and in full color. Not from being small and quiet so you don't wrinkle. Not from not being able to make facial expressions, or, I mean, what do smile lines come from? They come from laughing. What do forehead lines come from? They come from facial expressions. They come from emotions. They come from thinking, right? It's not unusual for me to make my 11 face, right? I'm using it when I'm thinking, when my brain is working. That is beautiful. Okay, do I love walking around with my 11s all the time? No. Do I put products on my skin that help with collagen and elastin and oils because I'm at an age where those things are not in full production as they used to be? Absolutely. Does that make me anti-aging? No, not at all. I want my skin to feel healthy. I want to feel healthy. I want my brain to feel healthy. I want my body to feel healthy. That is where we combat this evilness that comes from the idea that growing a day older somehow means that our value is less. Our physical appearance is somehow diminished because we are not a certain age, or we are not a certain look, or we do not have a certain lack of wrinkles or color or whatever it is that defines what aging looks like to you, which, by the way, is also different to every piece of interpretation. I want to start a new conversation about healthy skin, and I want to get away from the toxicity of aging as being something that is evil or stealing something from us, because the wiser I get and the more I'm alive and the more breaths I take, the more alive the more alive I am, the more alive I feel, and I want that for everybody else. I don't want the beauty industry to corrupt our view or vision of what aging is. It shouldn't. I don't want it to. And it stops with adjusting the way that we think. And I want to invite you into that conversation. Thank you for listening.